Hey everybody, this is your host Ryan,
And I'm Rob.
and baseball has never been hotter with Fantasy R&R's Week 6 players to watch.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
We are back to our old tricks again. We're going to round the diamond, starting with catcher, talking about some players to watch, some players to add, some players to disregard. Let's get things kicked off with the man himself, Rob, telling us all about Alejandro Kirk and the Toronto Blue Jays.
That's right, Alejandro Kirk. Catcher's been pretty bad this year. Kirk's batting at 270. Can't really ask for too much more than that, right? So I'm thinking even with Danny Jansen coming back, Alejandro Kirk needs to be added. I would definitely run out and get him.
William Contreras on the Atlanta Braves, right now only 6% rostered in Yahoo, up 2% from last week. Obviously has a very famous relative in baseball right now. What are you seeing down the line for him?
This is a catcher with prodigious power. He's got a little bit of speed and now has not ample playing time, but a little bit of playing time. Manny Pena went down, so Contreras is the next man in Atlanta behind Travis d'Arnaud, who has had his injury risks all throughout his years. So William Contreras could be a very sneaky add, especially now with the new playing time.
And these are especially interesting to look at when you see some of the established veterans like JT Realmuto struggling. A lot of catchers have low average and low power to start off the year, so just keep your eye on these guys. Let's move over to first base. Get on that bag. Trey Mancini, a darling of power last season. Great inspirational story in baseball. This year started off very slow, only 57% rostered, but he's making his way up the season rank as we're starting to see just this last week, batting 425 at-bats with a couple of homers and RBIs. He seems like he's heating up. People need to watch him and possibly add him back to their teams now.
Yeah, Trey Mancini, and another one off the top of my head, Jesus Aguilar. A lot of people, tend to not roster these guys because they're solely first base. Rowdy Tellez is another one, but man, if you got the power, it's a great utility play through and through. Unfortunately, he's with Baltimore, so RBI and run potential is going to be low, but Trey Mancini is a guy I think people gave up on a little too quick, again, because of that power.
Let's move over to the Gay Angels. Everybody ease the fuck up. If you can take a dick, you can take a joke. Talk to us about Josh Naylor, Rob.
Yes, Josh Naylor is a prospect I have watched for the last few years. This guy coming up, I believe it was with the Padres, drafted by the Marlins. Huge power, never given the opportunity. It was a lefty bat, and people are always skeptical with the lefty bats, but this guy is coming out swinging this year. Unfortunately, right now on the COVID list, but I'm sure that'll ease up here soon enough. This guy looks like he's hitting in the meat of that Gay Angels order, and he needs to be rostered because I have a feeling this is one of those hidden gems that he's likely to hit about 35 homers, 100 RBI, batting at 300, almost similar to what an Austin Riley did last year.
Let's see if we can steal second. Let's talk about Ship Merrifield for a second. Oh, I'm sorry, Whit Merrifield. So far this season, batting like 183. He's been a huge disappointment for people who took him high in drafts, including myself. But after going 0 for 7 and 0 for 4 mid-month, now all of a sudden we're seeing him on a 6-game hit streak, 3 of them being multi-hit games, and he's crushed 2 homers in that time. So are we starting to see him heat up right now? 323 with 2 homers, 7 RBIs in the last week. What are you thinking about this for this older veteran? Is this a guy that everyone just needs to calm down on, stash for the rest of the year, keep on the bench if he's not producing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was bound to happen. As these vets heat up, it tends to be with the weather. It's always been this way. People are griping about the likes of him, Max Muncy, excuse me, Jesse Winker, who we talked about, Jorge Polanco. These are guys that I like to kind of watch early on and see if people start getting really annoyed at their production and going in and buying them low. And Whit Merrifield is a perfect example of that because it's only a matter of time till he gets back to being Whit Merrifield, stealing 40 bags, batting close to a 280 in an improved Royals lineup. It's not great, but Whit Merrifield's still a great player. Try to get him on the cheap if you can before it's too late.
Yeah, and I believe in Jorge Polanco for sure. I had him on my team last year when I won the championship. He's also someone who's at this year seems to be a little bit higher percent rostered than when I owned him last year. So people can stay calm on that as well. Ketel Marte, why don't you just go ahead and give us the rundown on this second baseman from Arizona?
Another one, just he came out cold. He had an injury riddled last year, but if you look at his numbers, was phenomenal when he was playing. I think this is a bounce-back candidate for this year. Again, the window is probably closed to getting him on the cheap, but you might get lucky. Both position eligibility of second and center. And yet again, like the Royals, D-backs are kind of starting to get a little better. Slowly but surely, that lineup's getting better.
As we start to go around the diamond here, and we're looking at shortstops, one guy that you decided we would throw out there because we don't have many on this list right now, Jorge Mateo. 39% rostered in Yahoo, up 3% for last week, but the numbers aren't incredible. Give us your reasons why we got to watch this guy right now.
Stolen bases. I mean, it's as simple as that, man. Again, he's on a Baltimore team. He's finally starting to make his way up the lineup. That was like the big knock on him. You know, he's only batting ninth. And this was another San Diego prospect that was moved and probably looks a little prematurely. I don't think he'll ever hit anything better than like a 250, but in today's game, I think the average is 220. So 250, and I think if you extrapolate his numbers, his stolen base numbers, I think he's in a trajectory of close to about 50 stolen bases. So, you know, it's almost like what we were expecting out of Miles Straw, who is kind of tanked this year for me, but Mateo's got pretty good position eligibility. I want to say he's second short and center in Yahoo. You know, it's worth the grab.
Sack fly, so let's tag up to third base real quick. Juan Yepez on the Cardinals, also eligible at multiple positions, much like Mateo, who we were just talking about. This guy can play first, third, or outfield in Yahoo, so we're going to talk about him at third base right now. 48% rostered, up 3% from last week. Right now, the game logs have been pretty decent. His last game going 2 for 4 with a couple of runs. Slow to start the season, but batting .366 overall at this point. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I mean, this guy pretty much has come up and hasn't stopped hitting. And I mean, that Cardinals lineup is potent. You know, I don't think he'll ever crack probably a top 4 or 5 spot in St. Louis only because they're that good. But this guy won't stop hitting. That's always a great sign whenever these prospects come up and actually hit for an average. Those are the kind of prospects that I look at immediately and tend to pick up over a big name like our favorite Jared Kelenic, who got sent down yet again, or Alex Kirilloff, who've come out stumbling this year.
All right, Mike Moustakas on the Reds. Old name. Everybody's had him at one point or another, but this past week, over the last 23 at-bats, is now going .304 with a couple of home runs. Do you think this is a heat-up moment? Because he's only 13% rostered right now.
Yeah, I mean, him, similar to another Cincy guy we're going to talk about, Tommy Pham, it's all about staying healthy. I mean, these are guys that when they're healthy, similar to Ketel Marte last year, they will produce. And, Moose has got big power. I believe his position eligibility is first, second, and third. Even if it's just a hot streak, I say snag him, see what it's worth. Cincy's going to be selling at the trade deadline. He could be on the move, especially Tommy Pham, only signing that one-year deal, but... And if they're hitting home runs, we could always use another home run or two on the old team every week. So I say go get Moose.
Absolutely. Out to the loneliest place in Little League, the outfield. Go ahead and start with Tommy Pham. You just traded for him.
Yeah, Tommy Pham. I traded the likes of Joey Gallo, who hit a couple home runs, and I'm looking for more average. I think if Tommy Pham can stay healthy, he's a 290 guy. They do not grow on trees. And again, the Reds are going to trade him. They're not going to contend this year. And if he could go out to the likes of Boston or New York and stay in another small ballpark, this guy could feast if he stays healthy.
And Joey Gallo, what are your thoughts right now? Because you were high on him for a second, but you immediately used him as some clickbait for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Gallo is who Joey Gallo is. Looking at his StatCast numbers, is expecting batting averages of 220. Even if he hits 40 home runs, he's going to destroy your average. And I've got the likes of a ton of guys starting off slow this year. So I was just like, let me try to get more of a balanced player, and Tommy Pham I did.
Absolutely. Jesse Winker, darling from last year for the two of us. We had a great run with him last season before some of his injury issues. Moves over to Seattle. Right now, we were talking about barrel percentage earlier today when we were on the phone. 4.9% for Jesse Winker this year, which is pretty low. What do you make of what's happening as he starts to hit some more home runs and get on base more often?
Yeah, it's his hits aren't dropping. This happens all the time, every year to somebody. This year, it's Jesse Winker. Seattle themselves really aren't doing themselves a disservice at all. They have been ice cold this year. Again, Kelenic got sent down. Julio Rodriguez isn't hitting for the power that they expected him to hit for. I think Jesse Winker's a fine player. Another guy that has dealt with some injuries the last 2 years in the second half. That's concerning me. But I think not playing in Great American Ballpark anymore in Cincy, I have a feeling the potential is there for Tommy Pham to do what Jesse Winker did last year, solely because he's in a better hitting environment. I think going to Seattle is definitely going to hurt Winker, but I still think he's a fine player.
Give us a quick rundown on this rookie Alec Thomas on the Arizona Diamondbacks. At your discretion, I picked him up. Only 33% roster. He's got a very small sample size right now of just 19 at-bats, but he's got a homer off a legitimate pitcher and 368 average. Went over 3 in this last game, but what do you think?
I think this guy, this is how I'm going to put this, and this is what we were talking about earlier. When Juan Soto got called up, this is what I read about him. He's a solid prospect. He has some power, has some speed, and can hit for an high average. That almost is verbatim of what is being said about Alec Thomas, who is ranked the number 18 prospect in all of baseball. Those guys that aren't top, they tend to play with the chip on their shoulders. If you saw the home run, it came off of, it was Sandy Alcantara, went opposite field 414 feet. That's impressive. Supposedly he's lightning fast. Watched a couple interviews with him. He seems like he's got confidence, young kid with confidence, always a good sign. I'm going all in on Alec Thomas. I'm going to say, ready? Juan Soto 2.0. This is the Juan Soto I never had. I got him just about everywhere in my leagues. I say go and get this guy. Of all the people we're talking about today, Alec Thomas is my number one.
All right, he said it, not me, so direct your hate accordingly, guys. Brandon Nimmo on the Mets.
Brandon Nimmo is who Brandon Nimmo is, once again, when he's healthy. Brandon Nimmo, since he has been called up in baseball, has the highest on-base percentage, the third highest on-base percentage anyone in baseball, and the only two above him is the aforementioned Juan Soto and Bryce Harper. That's really good company. This guy's leading off on a very good Mets team. If he stays healthy, 100 runs is not without the realm of possibility. I think he hits 10 home runs. The RBI could be there, but stolen bases could contribute about 20, have a 300 average, and an OBP somewhere of about 850. I'm thinking OPS of 850. I think this guy could be really, really good. Once again, if he stays healthy and stays atop that New York Mets lineup.
Solar Eclipse, Jorge Soler on the Marlins, batting 188, but 7 dingers. Tell us what you think.
And the dingers, the dingers are coming. That's the thing. Yet again, another vet. People were kind of fretting about him early on. He was 32, was a huge prospect, known for his power. Guy who can just bash the baseball, and it's happening. Miami, once they start opening that retractable roof, ball is going to be flying in Miami, and do not be surprised if Jorge Soler is flirting with the top home run hitters of all of baseball come the end of this season.
Okay, Manuel Margot, I'm sorry guys, I picked him up about a week ago. This is why this happened. He's on the 10-day injured list with his hamstring issue, but he has been looking absolutely great this season so far. After 92 at-bats, the dude has 10 runs, 3 homers, 21 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, batting .348. He's only 70% rostered. So if you've got these IL spots that aren't being used up on your team, you can go out and directly add him to the IL. Get him onto your team right now, stash him for a little bit, see what happens. It can't hurt, because if you end up not needing him, you can drop him from the IL or place somebody else on the IL in his place when you drop him. So it's not going to be a big deal. I say go out there and get him. It's crazy that he's only 70% owned. All right, going on to the next guy, Luis Gonzalez on the Giants. Talk to us, Rob.
Yeah, guy I've never heard of before. Just realized that this dude is just hitting every single freaking day. San Francisco tends to do well with these no-name players that kind of come up and make a name for themselves. Luis Gonzalez looks like this, like another one, just a hitting champ as we speak. I always love those outfielders that have left, center, and right eligibility if you play in a league like that. Wouldn't say go out and get this guy, but I would say definitely watch this guy closely. He's hitting the ball.
Another guy to watch, Brian De La Cruz on the Marlins. Kind of a rookie in some sense. From our own Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp AAA team, Marlins recall him last week. He is up batting 3 for 9 over the past week. This season so far, while taking MLB at-bats, he's got a .286 average with 5 runs, a home run, 5 RBIs, no stolen bases yet, but those will generally come eventually. He's got a little bit of speed, not too much, but he can get you a couple stolen bags. Let's talk about the heaters, our pitchers. Rowan Wick, possible Cubs closer right now. Talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, any closing gig is always a good closing gig, albeit it is the Cubs. Rowan Wick seems to have entrenched himself in the 9th inning, so if he's available, snag him.
Greg Whitlock, this is a guy that I just ran with since the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, he is 77% rostered and ranked 105 out of all MLB players on the season right now. Guys, on the 2022 season, Whitlock has done almost 25 innings, has a win, also a save, 34 Ks. 34 Ks over 24.2 innings. That's fucking fantastic. 2.19 ERA and a whip of .93. He's looking absolutely great. Gonna see him tonight at the Houston Astros game at Fenway. Very excited. One of those guys that was more of a relief pitcher. He's not going tons of innings, but you could do a lot worse. The fact that there are 23% of Yahoo rosters out there who he's not even on in those leagues, that's just absolutely insane to me. He can do relief. He can go for the 5-game win or the quality start, so go out there and grab him. Next guy we can talk about here, Martin Perez on the Rangers. What do you think, Rob?
He's pitching really well, man. Texas needs all the help that they can get. He's got a solid strikeout ratio right now as we speak. I'd seen him dropped after like one bad outing. He's had two really good outings recently. I strongly recommend taking a look at Martin Perez. The wins might be kind of scarce because Texas is, Texas. He needs to be rostered.
All right, Reed Detmers. This one's a little controversial. We both kind of feel this way right now. I didn't even want to touch Greg Kirby. We'll talk about him after a few more starts. But this guy did get the no-hitter against Tampa Bay. However, he got lit up a couple games before that. What are you thinking right now? Watch list, must add, stash, what?
I mean, you can add him if you're in dire need of pitching help. You don't just fall into a no-hitter. But I will say that I believe right around the 6th, 7th inning, Angels are up 8-0, and Tampa Bay just kind of seemed to give up. A lot of cheap pop-ups. Didn't look like anybody was really swinging for the fences or anything. So I'm, always bullish a little bit on no-hitters that looked that way. He wasn't very dominant. I believe he didn't even have that many strikeouts, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see what he does. I believe he pitches today. I want to see his next outing because we'll see if he's fatigued or not from that no-hitter.
All right, a guy that's only 6% rostered on your favorite team, the Braves, A.J. Minter, who's got an ERA of 1.72 after 15 innings. Talk to us.
Yeah, A.J. Minter has been a top prospect for the Braves. Every year he's incrementally gotten better. Statistically, he looks like a polished product, and I believe this is the Braves closer of the future. This year he will be the setup man before Kenley Jansen. That is a beautiful 8th inning and 9th inning guy. He's a lefty with power, and now he has control. Look out. If you are in a saves holds league, this guy I think is going to rack up plenty of holds for the Atlanta Braves.
Max Meyer, do you have an NA slot? Drop O'Neal Cruz, put this guy in it on the Marlins. Rob, what do you think?
Yes, with Jesus Luzardo now going down with the forearm strain, that is never good. The Marlins are going to play mix and match and see if they can make things work. It's not going to happen. Max Meyer is going to be the guy. Whatever you are doing, snag this dude for AAA Jumbo Shrimp, our own hometown AAA team. His first outing, 5 perfect innings. Guy's a stud. He is going to be a monster. Trust me. Get Max Meyer any way you can.
A lot of guys flying under the radar. Clark Schmidt getting recalled back up to the Yankees. Might be in line for long relief here. .82 ERA on the season after 11 innings. He's got 2 wins and 9 Ks. Dude has one of the nastiest curveballs I've ever seen. Go and watch that movement. Look him up. Guys, thanks again. This is Fantasy R&R with Rob and Ryan. We'll see you next time for more baseball, fantasy sports news.